the Vice President of Technical Services here at ScanSource. And today we're bringing you one of our In the Hot Seat video panels as part of ScanSource's Discover Opportunity. And we're here to hear from our supplier experts on trends in their spaces. And today our focus is going to be on a rapidly growing industry, retail and grocery. We're going to focus today's conversation on the evolution of the storefront. And to help me have that conversation, we've got two of our supplier experts here in this space. We have Paul Berry and Hedgie Bartol. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and your roles within your organizations. Paul, let's start with you.
All right, thanks, Kyle. So again, Paul Berry with Toshiba, live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been with between Toshiba and IBM for well over 30 years. So my main focus is working directly with our business partner channel in North America. And my role is really from a sales perspective, working with them to help them with sales, grocery, convenience stores, coast to coast in North America, because that's where I kind of focus my time.
Great. And I, before we put on virtual backgrounds here, I called you out in the opener. I saw a Papa mug in your background, which means you got to have grandkids. How many and which one of them's your favorite?
I do. I have 6. So
okay.
they range from age 2 to 12.
Yeah. All right. Not going to take the bait on which one's your favorite, I'm sure.
No, I can't. They're all the favorite, right? Just like my partners, they're all the favorite.
That's right. Good answer. All right. Hedgie, how about introduction for you and your role at Axis?
Absolutely. My name is Hedgie Bartol. I am the segment development manager for the retail space here at Axis. I help drive the retail strategy for the U.S., serving the end users, the integrator partners, and our distribution partners as well. I've been with Axis about 9.5 years, serving the industry in retail loss prevention for about 25 years or so.
Great. Yeah, I know loss prevention for sure is going to be one of our topics I really want to get into today. But before we do, any business, I got to put you on the spot too. Your LinkedIn profile says you went to an arts college like I did. I'm doing nothing with my arts degree. You got a degree in theater arts. Now you're in technology. How about your most favorite or most memorable production? I'm assuming you've been a part of many.
Yeah, I majored in theater arts. And I like to think I'm still using that degree as I work with presentations and getting up in front of the customer every day.
Yeah.
Favorite production, that's hard to say. I have done 2 films, and those were a lot of fun. They basically went straight to video, but a film with Christy Swanson and Andrew McCarthy called Getting In, and one with Mark Wahlberg, Kadeem Hardison, Gregory Hines, and Danny DeVito called Renaissance Man. So nice. Those are my biggest claims to fame, so to speak.
Yeah, great. Well, I went to, we're all on the East Coast. I went to Furman. I got a mathematics degree, a BS in mathematics from a liberal arts school. So go figure that. And here I am in technology distribution. So, all right, on topic. Paul, we'll start with you. Toshiba is one of our big partners in the self-checkout space for sure, which we'll get into the self-checkout trend itself more specifically here in a minute. But what types of trends are you and Toshiba and your partners starting to see in the retail and grocery space?
You mentioned self-checkout. So we did see self-checkout starting to grow little by little as the years went on over the last few years. But it seems like when the coronavirus hit, customers were skittish about going into their grocery stores. And we see a huge increase in self-checkout sales. So from a POS perspective, we've seen self-checkout as kind of the next iteration. COVID-19 is causing some of it. And, I think a lot of times what we see is it's hard for the grocer now to schedule labor, right? Before you knew you had some spikes early morning, maybe lunchtime or in the evening. Now with COVID-19, the spikes happen all throughout the day. So we found that self-checkout kind of smoothed out that labor requirement throughout the day. Something that we never seen before prior to COVID-19 hitting. But a lot of retailers ask, what's that right solution, right? Beyond just point of sale. And it's not just self-checkout. Retailers have to look at things like e-commerce, right? Are you able to shop online? And usually e-commerce leads to curbside pickup, right? Which leads to mobile POS. And then you got a number of retailers, dabbling with consumer shopping, right? With consumer mobile. So there's not one right answer, right? The really trend is you really, as a reseller, need to be able to offer your clients all of those different solutions because it's important to go do that. But as you're doing that, you also got to make sure that they all integrate together, right? So if you're going to do e-commerce, mobile POS, does it look like a traditional POS on the back end? So whatever solutions that you do put together for your clients, you really got to make sure that, you know, on the back end, it's one transaction log. It looks the same on the back end from an accounting perspective. That'll definitely save you some aggravation down the road. So that's kind of what we've been seeing lately.
Yep. How about you, Hedgie? What is Access seeing as the trends in retail grocery right now?
I would definitely concur with Paul. You know, obviously with the curbside pickup and mobile and buy online, pick up in store. And what is happening from a loss prevention standpoint is that really opens up the retailer to new kinds of fraud. If and you know, fraudulent credit cards and tokenization and so forth. And from a loss prevention standpoint, the LPE teams have for years been tasked to do more with less, right? Their budgets are not exactly growing exponentially, but they're still required to maintain appropriate shrink numbers. And never more so than in COVID now, they are taking on more responsibilities in the way of handling logistics and new challenges. And so we're seeing them turn to technology more and more because they can't put more people in the store. They can't have staff engaging with folks, and even the employees and the store associates engaging with people. And so they're having to lean on their technology and find ways to sort of integrate systems together and make the sum of the parts greater than the whole to address a particular problem, right? So utilizing existing and new technologies to impact what might be happening in the new COVID environment.
Yeah, thanks, Hedgie. So I definitely want to stay with you here and talk a little bit more about loss prevention as we start to see these spaces move into more self-service. Loss prevention is becoming more and more important. As you referenced, organizations have always had to have a strategy around loss prevention, but we're starting to see investments being made there now. As you both have alluded to, the fewer employees you have on the floor in these spaces at any point in time, the more you do need to secure those assets. So for our partners who are selling into this space, how best do they establish a loss prevention strategy, and what are the elements of those solutions?
I think the key thing when you're dealing with loss prevention is it is very much a relationship-driven industry. I've said it a million times. They work with who they trust who they know. It is not your typical sales call, for lack of a better term, where you can expect to spend 30 minutes with someone in their office and walk out with an order. There's a tremendous amount of risk for the loss prevention folks when you're talking about a retailer that might do millions of dollars of business. So it's a matter of building that relationship, building that trust, getting to know the individual, letting them get to know you, that they can rely on you, and having open discussions, talking with them about what are their current issues, what are their current problems, educating them as to the technology that's out there that's new and maybe innovative. Work with them as a true integrator. You have the opportunity now, instead of just being what they might regard as an installer, you can be an integration partner because you understand all the components of the technology that may be in their environment and their enterprise. And you can bring them together and say, did you know if we brought this with this and tied it to that and utilized, maybe some of your existing infrastructure or existing technologies, you can get economy of scale. And bring them along into the world of integrated systems. It's a wonderful opportunity for integrators now because they can be true integrators and solve problems, create solutions, and be that missing link to tie things together with a holistic view of their enterprise.
You guys are doing a great job of being unintentional straight men here, because Paul, you already referenced e-com and curbside pickup, and we haven't broken spades yet and used the acronym BOPUS, but that's very relevant in this space. And we've got other panels that we're hosting on those topics too. So I love that. And then Hedgie, you just kind of teed off the solutions conversation and introducing the concept of our resellers becoming less transactional and more strategic and starting to help with solutions. So Paul, the trends we've been talking about here, self-checkout, we keep teeing that one up for you. Obviously, a rapidly growing element of this transition as more and more storefronts move to a self-service model where the consumer can check out their own goods. So now you're talking today to a base of partners that may have established point of sale practices. How different is the self-checkout world to what they may have been accustomed to with the true point of sale systems? Are there any other considerations they need to make if they're going to start adopting the new technology?
The good news is that they know retail, they know point of sale, right? And self-checkout is really the next iteration of it. And when you look at the growth, I know from a Toshiba perspective, we've had over 60% growth year over year. And it's interesting, we haven't brought on, let's say, additional resellers to go do it. We've taken resellers that only focused on point of sale, and we educated them on how to sell self-checkout, right? And that's the biggest thing that we see with resellers today is it's a big step for them to go from point of sale to self-checkout, but given the proper education, the kind of the guidance, they can be successful at it, right? Obviously, you got to learn how to handle objections. And I always like to say, you go into some of the big box stores, usually it's not the greatest self-checkout experience. And a lot of times retailers think, well, that's what self-checkout is all about. But we all know that, the smaller grocers provide a really good customer service, more hands-on, and that's where the reseller comes into play. When you talk to a grocer today, those that have self-checkout are thanking God that they did with COVID-19. And those that don't wish they did because they can't handle the overflow on the front end. They don't have the staffing. So, that's important. But when you really think about it, right, shoppers don't want to wait in line. Shoppers don't want you touching their food, right? When you're checking out, they don't want to engage with a cashier for virus protect reasons type thing. But when a customer tells me that, well, I don't want to do self checkout because I want to provide a better customer service, it tells me that we got to educate that grocer, because self service doesn't mean no service. So you really got to handle a lot of those objections. We've seen the return on the investment about 1.5 to 2 years, right? But when you look at some of the objections that the grocers are going to give you is, A, they think it's too expensive, and today it's really not. It's very cost effective. You're going to get better customer service from it, right? By giving customers the choice to use it, giving them the option, right? Giving them the privacy to control their own checkout experience. The grocer may think, I don't have space, right? I can tell you, we have some stores in New York City where, we're able to cram in 11 self-checkouts in a very small front end, right? So space, we can usually overcome some of that. We've heard concerns about, we have a high produce content. How's it going to do that? There's a lot of things, or demographics, right? And then shrink. Shrink is always a big one. What we've seen is if you implement best practices and you follow what we educate you to do, you're going to see shrink go down or stay the same, because most shoppers are going to be more trustworthy than the employees that are stealing from you at the cash register, right? We've seen that time and time again. So again, it's all about, you're going to save labor with self-checkout, but we got to really convince the grocer is you want to redeploy that labor in the store. So by redeploying the labor, you're going to provide better customer service. And that's really what it's all about, right? Giving that customer a choice, providing better customer service. So really, it's just getting the education that you need and having your manufacturer work with you to be successful in that space. And we've seen it time and time again.
I think you're speaking Hedgie's love language here with talking about shrink, and I'd never heard the concept of shoppers being more trustworthy than the employees, but it for sure resonates. You're standing there next to a till. Temptation is key.
Yeah, we learned, if shoppers want to steal from you, they're going to steal in the aisle. They're not going to steal in the front end. And that's important. But one thing we learned real quick, when you do self-checkout, you got to have everybody within the retail organization on the same page, including loss prevention. Because if you got one person rowing in the wrong direction, you're not going to succeed with self-checkout. So it's important to follow that theory up front when you're educating them.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in, Paul, I totally agree with you. And that's one thing about retail loss prevention is as much as I would like to say that they spend a tremendous amount of money on technology and products and gadgets and so forth. The reality is loss prevention, their first approach to a problem, whether it's self-checkout, whether it's inventory issues and what have you, their first approach is through people, processes, and procedures. And that's how they try to address the issues and the problems that they encounter. And you're absolutely right. Any project you're working on in retail, you've got to get buy-in and from all business areas and all your business partners on the same page, and make sure everybody is rowing in the same direction. Very well said, Paul.
Yeah, I'd love to kick off our last question here to you guys on this topic. And Hedgie, you mentioned earlier partners needing to expand the solutions that they bring to their customers, but all the comments that you guys are making now are right in line with that topic as well. It's not just about bringing technology products and solutions, but it's also being integrated in the decision-making process for a customer who's looking to make investments. So as we look at where partners become responsible for technology decisions within a customer, how difficult do you find it for partners to enter into a new space? If Access is a pretty wide portfolio of products, and we find that customers are wanting to consolidate their purchasing and decision making down to a few kind of hand-picked partners. So are there areas that you guys and your organizations help partners get into this mode where they are being advisors and expanding the conversation beyond just front of house or the point of sale area? And what do you find successful there? I don't know who wants to take it first. Hedgie, you're on mute right now, so I'll bring it to Paul. Paul, where does Toshiba find success there with helping their partners become those trusted advisors and sell more than just the one product?
As a consumer, right, as a grocer, for example, you want one neck to choke, right? Nothing is worse than finger pointing when something goes wrong. And it's the same thing with technology, right? They want one person to go to provide their needs for their business. And as a reseller, you got to go out of your sphere of influence, right? You got to kind of build your line card in order to service your customer, right? We have a lot of resellers that sell meat wrapping machines, right? I mean, that's a different extreme, but the point here is you're kind of a one-stop shop. So yeah, I mean, outside of traditional things, we have resellers today that, let's say, do their own break fix, right? They have service techs and vans, they go service their clients. And we have others that reseller maintenance or hardware maintenance, right? So when you really look at it, it goes back to a grocer. Are you gonna be in the grocery business, or are you gonna be in the IT business fixing your own point of sale? Same thing is a reseller. If you look at the amount of time and effort you spend on doing service calls to fix hardware, you can be spending that investment on driving incremental sales and allowing the manufacturer to come out there and service that hardware on your behalf, right? So having the manufacturer expand your services offering, and what that also means is it expands your territory, right? You're no longer focused on doing business where you have feet on the street to service the hardware. Now you can go outside of your territory and allow, in the world of Toshiba, let Toshiba do your break fix, for example, or whoever your POS manufacturer is. In other areas, professional services, right? Depending on what software application you're running for point of sale or self-checkout, are you extending that? Do you have a staff of people, on board that can extend that product, or are you just selling the plain vanilla solution from the manufacturer or from the ISV? But the advantage of extending it is this: you get that grocer stuck on your solution, right? They can't easily switch because they didn't like the pricing you gave them yesterday, right? Now they're kind of tangled up with your software assets, and it's not easy for them to move to another reseller just because something happened. It'll give you some time to kind of smooth over that relationship. Other things we've seen that you can expand your line card is systems management, right? Who is remotely monitoring those solutions within the store? Can you provide that as a service from your help desk? That's an option, obviously, as well. We have solutions in that area we've been successful with. And simple things, right? Virus scan, right? Everybody runs it, everybody needs it. Do you offer it, right? What are you offering in that package? Same thing with, remote control. Are you able to remote into the customer's solution? Maybe you want to sell that solution to them. If they're large enough and they have a help desk, maybe they need some remote capability. And just make sure that, you can provide wall-to-wall service, right? And what I mean by that is your manufacturer able to service not only their equipment, but maybe the scanner scales from another vendor, from an OEM. Those are some things to think about. It's really just getting with your manufacturer, your POS manufacturer, and asking them, what else do you offer that I can go out there and sell? There's probably a lot of different things that they offer. And you should obviously open up that door and have those conversations with them. So we kind of see it across the board, but those that have a bigger line card have more success.
If you had asked me this question 8, 9, 10 years ago, I would have told you how difficult it would be. Now that technology has come so far, and essentially everything is becoming network enabled. Everything resides on the network, is IP addressable. And when you're, as an integrator, when you're in a store pulling Cat5 cable for one solution, whether it's POS or what have you, why not also attach another network device, whether it's a camera, whether it's a speaker or a door controller or what have you. So you have the ability to really grow your business exponentially because you're already within the 4 walls of the store pulling cable and programming devices. Why not add some others that are also utilizing the same protocol? And you asked what Axis does to help with that and help with the sales methodology and so forth. We've got a tremendous lineup of what we call Axis Academy courses, where we teach you, not only the technology, but how to bring technologies together, how to present the solutions and talk to your customer about it. You could spend many hours going through our courses, both online and hopefully once again in person. We no longer have as many disparate systems in our store as we used to. Everything is communicating via the network. So just continue to expand along that infrastructure and look for other, whether it's products or devices or solutions that can ride on that same pipeline.
Paul, I'm going to return the favor here. You gave me a verbal nugget earlier of self-service doesn't mean no service, which is the first time I heard that. I use one back to pat instead of one throat to choke. So maybe that one has some life left on it. I will see. Listen, I appreciate your time today, really digging into these topics. I definitely, coming from the services world, appreciate both your comments about talking to your customers about wall-to-wall service or managed services, helping them manage their inventory of products that they're deploying, all of those things that are, low-level barriers to entry to embracing new technology. Also, an opportunity here for us to plug the rest of the series because you guys are mentioning the topics. We're also going to be talking about the new world of logistics and returns and things like that are introduced, as well as online ordering and customer experience. So for our partners out there who have enjoyed this panel, please check back in with us. You can get more information about this series of content at www.scansource.com/retail and grocery, and the other panels will be posted there. So in closing, I'll just pass back a thank you here, both to Paul Berry from Toshiba and Hedgie Bartol from Axis. Again, thank you for your time today.